The polygraph machine looked like something from a 1970s science fiction movie. All wires, dials, and that uncomfortable chair that screamed, "Guilty until proven innocent." I stared at it through the waiting room window, wondering how the hell my life had come to this. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Evan Morris? The examiner, a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses, appeared in the doorway. "We're ready for you." My fiancée Sophie squeezed my hand, her perfectly manicured nails digging into my palm. "Remember, honey, this is just to put my mind at ease. After what happened with my sister's husband." Right. Her sister's husband had cheated, so naturally every man on earth was suspect. Sophie had been obsessing about trust issues for months, reading articles about polygraph tests for couples, watching YouTube videos about detecting lies. When she'd suggested I take one before our wedding, I'd laughed. When she'd insisted, I'd gotten suspicious. "Sure, babe," I said, standing up. "But you're taking one too, remember?" Her smile flickered for just a second. "Of course. Ladies first, right?" The examination room was sterile and cold. Jason, the polygraph examiner, had me sit in the chair while he attached sensors to my fingers, chest, and arm. The whole setup felt ridiculous, but I played along. "This is a baseline test, Mr. Morris. I'm going to ask you some simple questions to calibrate the machine. Please answer honestly. Is your name Evan Morris?" "Yes." "Are you 38 years old?" "Yes." "Do you live in Kings Mill, Maine?" "Yes." The machine hummed and scratched lines across paper. Jason nodded, making notes. "Now for the relationship questions. Are you engaged to Sophie Landry?" "Yes." "Have you been faithful to her during your relationship?" "Yes." "Have you had any romantic or sexual contact with another woman since you began dating Sophie?" "No." "Do you love Sophie Landry?" That one hurt a little, given recent doubts. But honestly? "Yes." "Are you planning to be faithful to her in marriage?" "Yes." Jason studied the readout, made more notes. "That's it, Mr. Morris. You can wait outside while I prepare the results." In the waiting room, Sophie was pacing, checking her phone constantly. Her nervous energy filled the space like static electricity. "How did it go?" she asked. "Fine. Your turn." Her face went pale. "Actually, Evan, I've been thinking. Maybe this whole thing is silly. I mean, if we can't trust each other—" "Sophie," I kept my voice level. "You insisted on this. I just spent an hour getting wired up like a Christmas tree because you needed proof I'm not cheating. The least you can do is return the favor. But I'm not the one with trust issues." "Really? Because demanding your fiancé take a polygraph test seems like a pretty big trust issue to me." Jason appeared in the doorway. "Ms. Landry, we're ready." Sophie looked trapped. She'd made such a big deal about this test, posted about it on social media, told all her friends how smart she was for thinking of it. Backing out now would raise questions she clearly didn't want to answer. "Fine," she said through gritted teeth. "Let's get this over with." I waited in the lobby, watching through the window as Sophie got hooked up to the machine. Even from a distance, I could see her fidgeting, sweating despite the air conditioning. The same baseline questions: her name, age, address. Then the relationship questions. "Are you engaged to Evan Morris?" A pause. "Yes." "Have you been faithful to him during your relationship?" Another pause, longer this time. "Yes." "Have you had any romantic or sexual contact with another man since you began dating Evan?" The longest pause yet. "No." "Do you love Evan Morris?" She was definitely sweating now. "Yes." "Are you planning to be faithful to him in marriage?" "Yes." Even through the glass, I could see Jason frowning at his readout. He asked a few more questions, then unhooked Sophie from the machine. She practically ran out of the examination room, her face flushed. "Well?" I asked. Jason cleared his throat. "Mr. Morris, your results show complete honesty across all questions. No deception indicated." Sophie was staring at the floor. "Ms. Landry's results," Jason hesitated, "show significant deception on several key questions, particularly those regarding fidelity and romantic contact with others. The silence in that room was deafening. Sophie's carefully constructed world of accusations and suspicion had just collapsed around her. "This is ridiculous," she finally said. "These machines aren't even admissible in court. They're not reliable." "Then why did you insist I take one?" I asked quietly. She had no answer for that. We drove home in complete silence. Sophie stared out the passenger window while I processed what had just happened. My fiancée, the woman I'd been planning to marry in 3 months, had not only been cheating on me, but had tried to deflect suspicion by accusing me of the same thing. At home, Sophie went straight to the bedroom and slammed the door. I sat in my kitchen, staring at the engagement photos on the refrigerator, trying to figure out how I'd missed the signs. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. "We need to talk." No shit, I thought. Sophie emerged from the bedroom an hour later, her eyes red from crying. She'd changed into her most innocent-looking outfit, a white sundress that made her look like she was heading to church. "Evan, we need to discuss what happened today." I was sitting at the kitchen table with a beer, still wearing the same clothes from the polygraph appointment. "I'm listening." She sat across from me, folding her hands like she was about to deliver a prepared speech. "Those tests aren't accurate. You know that, right? They have false positives all the time." "Sophie, I've been under a lot of stress with the wedding planning, and work has been crazy, and maybe I was just nervous." "Sophie, and it's not like I've done anything wrong, not really. I mean, everyone talks to other people, and maybe I've been friendly with some guys at work, but that doesn't mean—" "Sophie." She stopped mid-sentence. "The machine said you lied about being faithful. It said you lied about not having romantic contact with another man. It said you lied about loving me." My voice was steady, but inside I felt like I was falling off a cliff. "So, before you tell me more lies, maybe you should think about whether you want to keep digging this hole deeper." Her lower lip trembled. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." She took a shaky breath. "There's this guy at work, Logan. He's in the marketing department, and we've been talking. Just talking. Well, mostly talking. We had lunch a few times, and maybe we texted more than we should have, but nothing physical happened." I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recorder app, setting it on the table between us. "Keep going." Her eyes widened. "Are you recording me? You just tried to make me take a polygraph test because you thought I was cheating. Now I find out you're the one who's been unfaithful." "Yeah, I'm recording this. Keep talking." "Fine." Her voice got defensive. "Logan and I have been texting for about 2 months. He's going through a divorce and he needed someone to talk to. We connected, okay? We have things in common that you and I don't." "Like what?" "He's ambitious. He has goals. He's not content to just run a car repair shop in some small town for the rest of his life." That stung. I owned Morris Auto Repair, a successful business I'd built from nothing over the past 10 years. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid well, and I was my own boss. "So, you've been having an emotional affair." "It's not an affair. We're friends. Friends who text constantly, friends who meet for secret lunches, friends who make you fail a polygraph test." She was quiet for a long moment. "There might have been some flirting." "Show me your phone." "What?" "Your phone. Show me these innocent text conversations with Logan." "I'm not showing you my private messages." "Sophie, 3 hours ago you had me hooked up to a lie detector because you didn't trust me. Now I find out you're the one who's been cheating. Show me the damn phone. She clutched her purse protectively. No. That told me everything I needed to know. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get out of my house. Go stay with your friend Logan or your sister or whoever. But get out. Evan, you're overreacting. Am I? You've been having an affair? It's not an affair. You tried to make me think I was the untrustworthy one, and now you won't even show me your phone. What exactly am I overreacting to? She started crying again, but these tears felt calculated. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care, figure it out. What about the wedding? I looked at her for a long moment. What wedding? She packed a bag while I sat in my living room, trying to process the complete implosion of my relationship. Sophie kept coming out to make her case. It wasn't serious, she'd end it with Logan, we could work through this. But I wasn't listening anymore. After she left, I called my business partner and best friend, Mitch Garrett. Evan? What's up, man? Sophie and I are done. What happened? I told him about the polygraph test, her confession, the mysterious Logan from her work. Holy shit, Mitch said. She made you take a lie detector test while she was cheating on you? That's some next-level crazy. Yeah, well, apparently I'm not ambitious enough for her. Dude, you own a successful business. You employ 6 people. What the hell does she want? Someone who's not content to run a car repair shop in a small town, apparently. Her loss, man. You want to grab a beer? Not tonight. I need to think. After hanging up, I sat in my empty house, surrounded by wedding plans and engagement photos. 3 months of planning, deposits paid, invitations ordered, all of it wasted because my fiancée couldn't keep her hands off some marketing guy named Logan. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. I'm staying at Camille's tonight. We should talk tomorrow when you've calmed down. When I've calmed down, like I was the one being unreasonable. I opened a browser on my laptop and searched for Sophie's company directory. Logan Pierce, marketing coordinator. His LinkedIn profile showed a guy about my age with perfect hair and a smug smile, posing in front of what looked like a yacht. I spent the next hour going through Sophie's social media, looking for clues I'd missed. There weren't many photos of Logan, but I found a few group shots from company events. In one, Sophie was standing unusually close to him, her hand on his arm. The photo was from 6 weeks ago. She'd told me it was just a boring work party. My phone rang. Sophie's sister, Jessica. Evan, what the hell happened? Sophie showed up at Camille's crying about some polygraph test. Ask your sister. She said you kicked her out over nothing. Jessica, she's been having an affair. Silence on the other end. That's not what she told me. I'm sure it's not, but that's what happened. Are you certain? I mean, Sophie loves you. Sophie failed a polygraph test. She admitted to having inappropriate contact with another man. She refused to show me her phone. How much more certain do I need to be? Another long pause. I'm sorry, Evan. I had no idea. Neither did I. After Jessica hung up, I poured myself a scotch and sat on my back deck, looking out at the woods behind my house. I'd bought this place 2 years ago, imagining Sophie and me raising kids here, building a life together. Now I was sitting alone, drinking whiskey and wondering how I'd been so blind. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from a number I didn't recognize. Hey man, I think we should talk. This is Logan. I stared at the message for a full minute before responding. How did you get my number? Sophie gave it to me. Look, I know this is awkward, but I think there's been a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Right. What kind of misunderstanding? Can we meet somewhere? I'd rather discuss this in person. I thought about it. Part of me wanted to tell him to go to hell, but another part was curious about what kind of man steals another guy's fiancée. Fine. Murphy's Bar on Main Street, tomorrow at 7. See you then. I finished my scotch and went to bed, but sleep didn't come easy. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sophie hooked up to that polygraph machine, sweating through her lies. Murphy's Bar was exactly the kind of place you'd expect in King's Mill. Dark wood, dim lighting, and the smell of decades-old cigarette smoke that no amount of cleaning could eliminate. I arrived at 7 sharp and found Logan Pierce already there, sitting in a corner booth nursing what looked like a craft beer. He was smaller than I'd expected from his photos, maybe 5'9" with the kind of carefully maintained appearance that screamed, "I spend more on hair products than most people spend on groceries." His handshake was firm but brief, like he was afraid I might crush his fingers. "Evan, right? Thanks for meeting me." I slid into the booth across from him. "Let's get one thing straight. I'm not here to be your friend. I want to know what's been going on between you and my fiancée." Ex-fiancée, from what Sophie told me. The correction hit harder than I'd expected. Fair enough. Ex-fiancée. Logan took a sip of his beer, choosing his words carefully. "Look, I know how this looks, but Sophie and I are just friends. Good friends, maybe, but nothing inappropriate has happened between us." She failed a polygraph test. "Those things aren't reliable." That's what she said. Funny how everyone becomes an expert on polygraph accuracy when they fail one. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Sophie mentioned you recorded her confession. That seems a little paranoid, don't you think?" "Paranoid?" "She made me take a lie detector test while she was cheating on me. Recording her seemed like the least I could do." "She wasn't cheating? Then show me your phone." Logan blinked. "What?" "Your phone. Show me your text conversations with Sophie. If you're just friends, you shouldn't have anything to hide." "I'm not showing you my private messages." "Interesting. That's exactly what Sophie said." We stared at each other across the table. Logan was trying to project confidence, but I could see sweat forming on his forehead. "Look," he said. "Sophie is going through a rough patch. She's been having doubts about the wedding, about whether she's making the right choice. She needed someone to talk to. And you were happy to be that someone." "I was being a friend." "A friend who encouraged her to break up with her fiancé?" Logan's mask slipped slightly. "I never told her to break up with you. But you didn't discourage it either." "That wasn't my place." I leaned back in my seat, studying him. Logan Pierce was exactly the kind of guy Sophie would be attracted to. Smooth, well-dressed, probably made good money. He was also exactly the kind of guy who would sleep with an engaged woman and then act like the victim when it blew up. "How long have you been divorced?" I asked. "I'm not divorced yet. We're separated." "How long?" "About 3 months." "So you're a married man who's been pursuing an engaged woman." "It's not like that." "What's it like, Logan?" He finished his beer and signaled the waitress for another. "Sophie is an amazing woman. She's smart, funny, beautiful. She deserves someone who appreciates her." "And I don't?" "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." The waitress brought Logan's beer and asked if I wanted anything. I ordered a whiskey. Neat. "Sophie told me you own a car repair shop," Logan said, trying to change the subject. "That's right." "Must be nice being your own boss." "It is. I'm in marketing myself. Digital advertising, social media campaigns, that sort of thing. It's a growing field." I could see where this was going. Logan was trying to establish his superiority, show me why Sophie would choose him over a blue-collar guy like me. "Sounds exciting," I said dryly. "It is, actually. I'm working on a campaign for a major automotive company right now. National reach, 7-figure budget." "Congratulations." My whiskey arrived. I took a sip and watched Logan try to figure out his next move. "The thing is," he continued, "Sophie has real potential. She's wasted in her current job. With the right connections, she could be running her own agency within a few years." "And you have those connections?" "I might." There it was. Logan wasn't just offering Sophie emotional support. He was dangling career advancement in front of her. "So let me get this straight," I said. You're a married man who's been texting with my engaged ex-fiancée, filling her head with ideas about how she's too good for her current life, and offering to help her career if she leaves me. That's not. And now you want to sit here and convince me that nothing inappropriate happened between you two. Logan's face was getting red. I resent the implication. I don't give a damn what you resent. I finished my whiskey and stood up. Here's what's going to happen, Logan. You're going to stay away from Sophie. No more texts, no more lunches, no more career advice. She made her choice when she decided to lie to me. But I'm not going to sit back and watch you manipulate her into ruining her life. You can't tell me who I can and can't talk to. Watch me. I threw a 20 on the table and walked out, leaving Logan sitting alone with his craft beer and his wounded pride. Outside, I sat in my truck for a few minutes, trying to calm down. Meeting Logan had confirmed what I'd suspected. Sophie hadn't just been having an innocent friendship. She'd been groomed by a predator who saw an opportunity to steal another man's woman. My phone buzzed, a text from Sophie. Logan said you two met. We need to talk. I typed back, no, we don't. Evan, please. I made a mistake, but we can fix this. There's nothing to fix. It's over. Don't throw away 3 years over a misunderstanding. I stared at her message for a long time before responding. It stopped being a misunderstanding when you failed that polygraph test. She didn't text back. I drove home through the quiet streets of Kings Mill, past the houses where normal couples were probably having dinner or watching TV together. 3 days ago, I'd been one of them. Now I was a single man driving home to an empty house, wondering how everything had gone so wrong so fast. At home, I found a bottle of wine Sophie had left behind, something expensive she'd bought for a dinner party we'd hosted last month. I opened it and sat on my couch, drinking straight from the bottle and thinking about the past 3 years. Had there been signs? Looking back, I could see a few. Sophie's increasing dissatisfaction with Kings Mill, her complaints about being stuck in a small town, her sudden interest in fashion and lifestyle blogs featuring successful urban couples. But I'd chalked it up to pre-wedding jitters. Lots of people got cold feet before major life changes. I'd never imagined she was shopping for a replacement. Around midnight, my phone rang. It was Mitch. How'd it go with Romeo? About like you'd expect. He's a piece of shit who thinks he's doing Sophie a favor by stealing her away from the small-town mechanic. What are you going to do? Nothing. It's over. She made her choice. Come on, man. You're not going to fight for her? I thought about that. Fight for what? A woman who's been lying to me for months? A woman who tried to make me think I was the problem while she was texting another guy? What exactly am I supposed to fight for? Mitch was quiet for a moment. Fair point. Besides, if she wants Logan Pierce, she can have him. They deserve each other. You sure you're okay? I'm fine. Pissed off, but fine. You want me to come over? Nah, I'm good. I'll see you at the shop tomorrow. After hanging up, I finished Sophie's wine and went to bed. Tomorrow I'd have to start the process of unwinding our shared life, canceling the wedding, dealing with deposits, figuring out what to do with the engagement ring. But tonight, I just wanted to sleep and pretend none of this had happened. The next morning brought a hangover and a series of uncomfortable phone calls. First was the wedding venue, where I had to explain that the September ceremony was canceled. The manager was sympathetic but firm about the deposit, non-refundable, as stated in the contract Sophie had insisted we sign. $2,000 down the drain. The caterer was more understanding, agreeing to refund half our deposit, since we were canceling more than 60 days in advance. The florist kept everything. The photographer offered to reschedule for a future wedding, which seemed optimistic. By noon, I'd lost almost $4,000 and gained a splitting headache. I was sitting in my office at Morris Auto Repair, trying to focus on invoices, when Mitch knocked on the door. How you holding up, boss? I've been better. What's the word from the gossip mill? Mitch grinned. Oh, it's spreading fast. Sophie's been telling everyone who'll listen that you kicked her out over a misunderstanding. But Jessica's been setting the record straight. Jessica? Sophie's sister. She's been telling people about the polygraph test and the affair. Half the town knows by now. I rubbed my temples. Great. I'm going to be the subject of coffee shop conversations for weeks. Could be worse. You could be Sophie trying to explain why you failed a lie detector test. That was true. In a town like King's Mill, reputation mattered. Sophie's carefully cultivated image as the perfect fiancée was crumbling fast. Speaking of Sophie, Mitch continued, she stopped by earlier looking for you. What did she want? Didn't say, but she looked like hell. I told her you were at the bank. Thanks. She also asked if I thought you'd take her back. I looked up from my paperwork. What did you tell her? I told her that was between you two, but if I were you, I'd run like hell. Good advice. Around 3 o'clock, my friend Dave Chen stopped by the shop. Dave owned the hardware store downtown and had been one of my groomsmen. He looked uncomfortable, which wasn't like him. Hey, Evan, got a minute? We walked out to the parking lot, away from the noise of the shop. I heard about you and Sophie, Dave said. I'm sorry, man. Thanks, these things happen. Actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Dave kicked at a loose piece of gravel. Sophie came to see me yesterday. She wanted to know if I'd talk to you about giving her another chance. What did you tell her? I told her I'd think about it. But honestly, Evan, I'm not sure what to think. She seemed really upset, really sorry about whatever happened. I studied Dave's face. He was a good guy, but he'd always had a soft spot for sob stories. Did she tell you what happened? She said there was a misunderstanding about some guy at work and that you overreacted. That's one way to put it. What's another way? I gave Dave the full story, the polygraph test, Sophie's failure, her confession about Logan, the meeting at Murphy's bar. By the time I finished, Dave looked sick. Jesus, Evan, she made it sound like you were being paranoid and controlling? I'm sure she did. I'm sorry. I had no idea. It's fine. She's good at spinning stories. Dave shook his head. I feel like an idiot. She had me half convinced that you were throwing away a good relationship over nothing. Don't feel bad. She had me convinced for 3 years that she was faithful. We stood in awkward silence for a moment. For what it's worth, Dave said, I think you did the right thing. If my wife was texting another guy and lying about it, I'd kick her out too. Thanks. You need anything? Help canceling wedding stuff, someone to drink beer with, whatever? I'm good, but I appreciate it. After Dave left, I went back to my office and tried to focus on work, but concentration was impossible. Every time the phone rang, I wondered if it was Sophie. Every time someone walked into the shop, I tensed up. Around 5, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Camille, Sophie's friend. We need to talk. Camille Rodriguez was Sophie's best friend and maid of honor. They'd known each other since college and were practically joined at the hip. If anyone was going to take Sophie's side, it would be Camille. I texted back, About what? About the mess you've created. I didn't create anything. Meet me at Starbucks on Elm Street. 1 hour. I almost ignored the message, but curiosity got the better of me. Camille had never liked me much. She thought Sophie was settling by staying in King's Mill, but she'd always been civil. If she was reaching out now, it meant Sophie had sent her. Starbucks was busy with the after-work crowd, but I spotted Camille immediately. She was sitting at a corner table, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Thanks for coming, she said as I sat down. What do you want, Camille? I want you to stop being an ass and take Sophie back. Not going to happen. She made a mistake. She had an affair. She didn't sleep with him. How do you know? Camille hesitated. She told me. The same way she told me she was faithful. That's different. How? She was trying to protect you. I almost laughed. Protect me from what? From getting hurt unnecessarily. She knew you'd overreact if you found out she'd been talking to Logan. Overreact? She failed a polygraph test, Camille. She lied about being faithful, about loving me, about planning to be faithful in marriage. What part of that is an overreaction? Camille's composure cracked slightly. Those tests aren't reliable. Everyone keeps saying that, but somehow I passed mine just fine. Sophie loves you, Evan. She's been crying for 2 days straight. She knows she screwed up and she wants to make it right. Then she shouldn't have started texting another man. It was innocent. Show me the texts. What? You're her best friend. I'm sure she's shown you the messages. Show me how innocent they were. Camille looked away. I haven't seen them. Bullshit! I haven't. Then how do you know they were innocent? Because Sophie told me. Sophie's a liar, Camille. She lied to me for months. She lied to that polygraph examiner, and she's lying to you now. Camille's face flushed. You're being cruel. I'm being realistic. She's staying at my apartment, crying herself to sleep every night. She's lost the man she loves, her wedding is canceled, and half the town thinks she's a cheater. Isn't that punishment enough? I didn't punish her. I just refused to marry someone who's been unfaithful. One mistake. It wasn't one mistake. It was months of lies, Camille. Months of secret texts and hidden phone calls, and meeting another man for lunch while I was planning our wedding. Camille was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller. What if she ends it with Logan completely? What if she changes jobs, cuts off all contact with him? What if she'd never started it in the first place? People make mistakes. Some mistakes you don't come back from. I stood up to leave, but Camille grabbed my arm. Please, Evan. She's my best friend. I've never seen her this destroyed. Then maybe she should have thought about that before she decided to cheat. I walked out of Starbucks feeling worse than when I'd arrived. Part of me felt bad for Camille, who was just trying to help her friend. But a bigger part of me was angry that Sophie was using her friends to fight battles she was too cowardly to fight herself. At home, I found a bottle of wine on my doorstep with a note. I'm sorry, please call me, S. I threw the wine in the trash and went inside. My phone rang an hour later. It was my brother Tom calling from Boston. Hey, little brother, I heard about Sophie. News travels fast. Jessica called Mom. Mom called me. You okay? I'm fine. You sure? Because if you need me to come up there and kick someone's ass, I'm sure. But thanks. What happened, exactly? Mom's version was a little confused. I gave Tom the same story I'd given Dave. He listened without interrupting, then let out a low whistle. Damn, Evan, I'm sorry. It is what it is. You want my advice? Do I have a choice? Change the locks, block her number, and don't look back. Women like Sophie don't change, they just get better at hiding their shit. That's the plan. Good. And if this Logan guy gives you any trouble, let me know. I still have friends in King's Mill who'd be happy to have a conversation with him. I appreciate it, but I think I can handle one marketing coordinator. I'm sure you can. But the offer stands. After Tom hung up, I sat on my couch with a beer, thinking about the past few days. A week ago, I'd been an engaged man planning a wedding. Now I was single, out several $1,000s, and the subject of small-town gossip. But for the first time since this whole mess started, I felt something like relief. I was done with Sophie's lies, done with her manipulation, done with pretending everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. Tomorrow, I'd start rebuilding my life. Tonight, I was going to finish my beer and get a good night's sleep. 2 weeks after the polygraph disaster, I thought the worst was behind me. The initial shock had worn off. The gossip had died down to a manageable level, and I was starting to feel like myself again. Then Logan Pierce decided to escalate things. It started with a phone call to my shop. My receptionist, Linda, transferred it to my office with a puzzled look. Evan Morris speaking. It's Logan. We need to talk. I thought we already did that. Sophie's a mess because of you. She can't eat, can't sleep. She's been calling in sick to work. That's not my problem. It is your problem. You humiliated her with that polygraph bullshit, and now you're spreading lies about her around town. I haven't said a word to anyone except the people who asked me directly what happened. Bullshit. Half the town thinks she's a cheater because of you. Half the town thinks she's a cheater because she failed a polygraph test. Those tests don't mean anything. Then why did she insist I take one? Logan was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice had an edge I hadn't heard before. You know what your problem is, Evan? You're a small-town loser who can't handle the fact that an amazing woman like Sophie was settling for you. When she finally realized she deserved better, you couldn't deal with it. Is that what you think happened? That's exactly what happened. Sophie is intelligent, beautiful, ambitious. She has dreams beyond fixing cars in some backwater town. But instead of supporting her, you tried to control her. By asking her to be faithful? By making her take a fucking polygraph test. She made me take it first, genius. Because you were acting paranoid and possessive. I was getting angry now, but I kept my voice level. Logan, let me explain something to you. Sophie and I are done. She made her choice when she decided to start texting you behind my back. What happens to her now is between you and her. She wants you back. Then she shouldn't have cheated. She didn't cheat. Keep telling yourself that. Logan's voice got nasty. You know what? Maybe it's better this way. Sophie deserves a real man, not some grease monkey who peaked in high school. That crossed a line. Careful, Logan. Or what? You'll challenge me to a polygraph test? Or I'll drive over to your office and we can discuss this face to face. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Logan laughed, but it sounded forced. Big, tough guy, right? I'm not afraid of you, Evan. You should be. I hung up before he could respond. Linda was standing in my doorway, looking concerned. Everything okay, boss? Fine. Just some asshole who doesn't know when to quit. But it wasn't fine. Logan's call had stirred up all the anger I'd been trying to suppress. The condescending tone, the insults about my business and my town, the implication that I wasn't good enough for Sophie. It all hit exactly where he'd intended. I tried to focus on work, but concentration was impossible. Every few minutes, I found myself replaying the conversation, thinking of better comebacks, imagining what I should have said. Around noon, Mitch knocked on my office door. You look like you want to hit something. Logan Pierce called. The boyfriend? What did he want? To tell me what a small-town loser I am and how Sophie deserves better. Mitch's face darkened. He said that? Among other things. You want me to pay him a visit? Mitch was 6'4" and built like a linebacker. In high school, he'd been the kind of guy other guys crossed the street to avoid. At 38, he was still intimidating when he wanted to be. No, but thanks for the offer. The offer stands. That afternoon, I decided to grab lunch at Murphy's Bar. I was halfway through a burger when Dave Chen walked in with two other guys I recognized, Mike Sullivan, who owned the sporting goods store, and Steve Parker, a local contractor. They joined me at my table, and the conversation inevitably turned to Sophie and Logan. I heard the boyfriend called you, Mike said. News travels fast. Linda mentioned it to her sister, who mentioned it to my wife, Steve explained. What did he want? I gave them the abbreviated version. By the time I finished, all three men looked pissed off. So this guy steals your fiancée, then calls to insult you? Dave asked. That's about the size of it. What a piece of shit, Mike muttered. You know what gets me? Steve said. Sophie grew up here. She went to high school with us. And now she's letting some outsider trash talk her hometown? She made her choice, I said. Doesn't make it right. We finished lunch and went our separate ways, but I could tell the story was going to spread. Kings Mill was a small town, and people here didn't take kindly to outsiders insulting their neighbors. That evening, I was working late at the shop when my phone rang. It was Jessica, Sophie's sister. Evan, I need to tell you something. What's up? Sophie came to see me today. She's not doing well. I'm sorry to hear that. She's lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. She's not sleeping, barely eating. I think she's having some kind of breakdown. I felt a stab of guilt, but pushed it down. What do you want me to do about it? Talk to her. Please, just once. Jessica, I know what she did was wrong, but she's my sister and I'm scared for her. What about Logan? Isn't he taking care of her? Jessica was quiet for a moment. They broke up. When? Yesterday. She said he was pressuring her to move to Portland with him, start over somewhere new. When she hesitated, he called her a coward and left. So Logan had cut and run the moment things got complicated. I wasn't surprised. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. Will you talk to her? I don't think that's a good idea. One conversation. That's all I'm asking. Jessica, your sister lied to me for months. She failed a polygraph test. She chose another man over me. What exactly are we supposed to talk about? Maybe she could explain. She already explained. She said I wasn't ambitious enough, remember? She was confused. She was cheating. Jessica sighed. I know, and I know you have every right to hate her, but she's falling apart, Evan, and despite everything, I know she still loves you. She has a funny way of showing it. Please, one conversation. Against my better judgment, I found myself agreeing. Fine, but not at your place, not at mine, somewhere public. Murphy's Bar? Tomorrow at 7. After hanging up, I wondered if I was making a mistake, but part of me was curious about what Sophie had to say now that Logan was out of the picture. The next evening, I arrived at Murphy's to find Sophie already there, sitting in the same booth where I'd met Logan 2 weeks earlier. Jessica hadn't been exaggerating. Sophie looked terrible. She'd lost weight, her hair was limp, and there were dark circles under her eyes. Thank you for coming, she said as I sat down. Jessica said you wanted to talk. I did. I do. Sophie's voice was hoarse, like she'd been crying. I want to apologize. For what, specifically? For everything. For Logan, for the lies, for making you take that polygraph test when I was the one who was being unfaithful. Okay. I know I hurt you. I know I ruined everything between us, but I want you to know that I never meant for it to happen. What did you mean to happen? Sophie twisted her hands in her lap. I don't know. Logan was charming and he made me feel special. He talked about opportunities, about getting out of King's Mill and doing something bigger with my life. So you decided to cheat on me. I didn't think of it as cheating. We were just talking. Talking that made you fail a polygraph test. I was confused. I had feelings for him, but I loved you too. When the machine asked those questions, I didn't know how to answer. You answered honestly. That's the point of the machine. Sophie started crying. I know I screwed up. I know I don't deserve another chance. But Logan's gone, and I realize now that he was never serious about me. He just wanted to prove he could take another man's woman. And you let him. I was stupid. I was flattered by the attention, and I convinced myself that what I was doing wasn't really wrong because we weren't sleeping together. But you wanted to. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Yes. God help me. Yes. At least she was being honest now. Sophie, I appreciate the apology, but it doesn't change anything. I know. I needed you to know that I'm sorry, and that losing you was the biggest mistake of my life. We sat in silence for a moment. Despite everything, I felt bad for her. She looked broken, defeated. What are you going to do now? I asked. I don't know. Logan was right about one thing. I don't belong in King's Mill anymore. Everyone knows what I did. I can't go anywhere without people staring at me, whispering. That'll pass. Will it? Or will I always be the woman who cheated on Evan Morris? I didn't have an answer for that. I might move away, she continued. Start over somewhere else. Maybe that's for the best. Sophie looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. Is there any chance at all, that we could try again? I know it would take time to rebuild trust, but no. The word came out harsher than I'd intended, but I didn't take it back. I understand, she whispered. I stood up to leave, then hesitated. Sophie? Yeah? For what it's worth, I hope you figure things out. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for. Thank you. I walked out of Murphy's bar for the last time, leaving Sophie crying alone in the booth. Outside, I sat in my truck, replaying everything. Part of me felt sorry for Sophie, but mostly I felt free. She'd made her choices, and now I could move on. A text popped up. Saw you at Murphy's with the cheater. Pathetic. Logan. Still trying to get the last word. I blocked him and thought that was the end of it. 6 months later, he came back, drunk at Murphy's bar, bragging that he'd conquered Sophie. The whole town was listening. I confronted him. He tried to laugh it off, but every word he said just proved what he really was, a coward who fed off other people's pain. He swung at me. I dodged easily and pushed him out the door. Leave, I told him. Don't ever come back. He didn't. Weeks later, I heard he lost his job, his car, and his wife. Karma worked faster than I ever could. Sophie moved to Boston, started therapy, and disappeared from my life. I met someone new, Jennifer, a bookstore owner from the next town. We married 2 years later. At the reception, my friend Mitch raised his glass and said, "To honesty and the occasional polygraph test." Everyone laughed, even me, and that's how it ended. No revenge, no drama, just peace. The truth always finds its way out.